Open
I
source
was
after
to buy
this.
get followers. You
And
can
so-
buy.
Welcome to GatherGeeks, a podcast by BizBash, the place where people passionate about meetings and events come together. This episode is a GatherGeeks special sponsor edition. Here's your host, BizBash CEO David Adler.
Welcome to this special edition of GatherGeeks. Today we are going to be talking about a new breed of technology innovators who are helping to manage the chaos of events in rentals, props, furnitures, and decor. Our guests today are Eric Dreyer and Karen Gordon from Goodshuffle Pro, a new SaaS software platform that is disrupting the back end of the event industry. Ultimately, like an efficient chip or a faster processor in a computer or an Uber or Lyft to transportation, they will be providing peace of mind to event producers by powering complex inventory-driven vendors who are concerned that their events will be perfectly executed as planned. So let's listen. Okay, so we're here in Washington at the offices of Goodshuffle Pro, and we're talking about first the concept of how the world has changed dramatically. And just to tee it off, I kind of see that we're now in this pop-up world. And what do you think an event is but a pop-up in a sense? Eric, what is your seeing? What are you seeing out there, and why did you actually create this product?
Well, we found that there were a lot of challenges being faced by small, medium, and large businesses to meet the ongoing and increasing demands of delivering creative, inspirational, on-the-fly events and experiences for their end customer, because the back-end solutions and operations and procedures they were using to mobilize their whole team and their inventory were kind of stuck in a yesteryear. And so we thought we could bring some innovation to logistics, communication with clients and team that would help streamline and augment the creative capabilities of these organizations to meet the mid-ends of the client.
You basically have made what was complex trivial, which is my definition of what good technology does.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I love, ever since I've heard you say it the first time, I've tried to repeat it as often as I can. I think it's a great line, and that's very often what we have in our DNA and what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Because event organizers are under pressure to produce faster, quicker, better, and more with more results. And Karen, why don't you talk about we had a conversation earlier about the technology on the front end, like at the Museum of Ice Cream and things like that, and that we see that all the time, but the magic on the back end is what Eric is kind of talking about.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people, I think, when they hear event technology, they think of the tags that you wear when you go into a festival and all this stuff, because the end users, that's what they see when they hear about event technology. And what we're doing is bringing technology to the back end, to the logistics. Some people oftentimes refer to it as the less sexy side because it's all the logistics, but it is the thing that's the most necessary. And that's really what is creating that magic. The user experience is coming from a lot of man hours and a lot of what you said, complexities.
But Eric, on the other side of it, though, you are seeing a front end for an event organizer. They're able to create better products because they see what's available. And so on the front end, you're able to give a canvas to an event organizer, to an event producer, to sort of see what's out there to deploy it more quickly.
That's exactly right. You know, you're working with the client, and they have a vision, and you're bringing even more creative vision to what the client's looking to achieve with a particular event. And then they have to go and say, all right, how are we going to make this work? I've got inventory. What do I have available? What can we
When you say inventory, give our listeners what you mean by the word inventory. I've been to places like Design Foundry, and they have these warehouses that are absolutely huge. I've been to MGM. The warehouses are absolutely huge. What is that problem that you're solving for them? What does it look like actually in the software? And then what does it physically look like in the mess?
Yeah, sure. I think actually it's maybe more fun to start with what it looks like in the real world, because I feel like sometimes you walk through these warehouses and it looks like the back lot of a Hollywood studio because they've just got so much creative stuff. And
these are thousands of square feet.
Yeah,
these are huge.
Yep. Shelves after shelves, warehouse after warehouse, all the way to the ceiling. Anything you can imagine they likely have, from linens to chairs to custom created, fabricated products.
Props, full of props.
Yes,
Like
props.
you walk into these things that are fun to walk into.
Yeah.
Because you see every cockamamie thing that someone has come up with in the past, and they try to repurpose it so that they're not just deploying it once.
Right. So, the end client sees that amazing prop, that amazing experience, but it actually has some of the parts, right? So can I reuse a chandelier for another gig as I'm talking to the next client? And when you look at the business of these companies, right, they're all about how can I use or reuse inventory that we have and repurpose it to earn my company an extra.
Well, don't forget, we're talking about the kind of companies we're talking about disintermediating is not their business, but their business flow.
Correct.
And that's a rental company,
right?
Which is the heartbeat of the event industry. And it's also, when I talk about the temporary marketplace or the temporary inventory world, the rental company is the heartbeat of that.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So to go back to it, you're working with a client, you're trying to imagine what we can deliver for them, and you got to know what you already have available, right? What's sitting on my shelf, and has that item already been spoken for by 1, 2, 3 other clients? We internally in the software refer to that as a conflict. It's effectively a double booking, and if you have to keep walking around your warehouse and speaking to different departments to understand what you have available before you can even develop and generate a proposal or a quote to a client, that's an inefficient process.
And what are they doing now? Like, what is the sort of the base thing? Is it like a little inventory sheet or a spreadsheet, or is it
I think we've seen it all. Yeah, it's when we break it down, these businesses have a lot of challenges, and the reality and why we started Goodshuffle and Goodshuffle Pro is to help meet those needs through an integrated software solution. But the reality was they were having to find solutions to managing inventory.
Well, okay, let's talk English on that a little bit. You originally started this idea to help the end user as a catalog of all of these creative things that were in the warehouse. And then I understand you found out that they didn't know what the hell they were doing on the back end.
Yeah, so the end client, right, the planners that are out there that are looking to impress the brides, the corporate clients that they're working with, they were having trouble finding inventory in their local market. They didn't know what was out there. And that's when we kind of really tapped into this search and discovery challenge that's faced by the end consumer. And when we went and did a bunch of interviews and research and development with all the local organizations here in DC area, we found out that the back office solutions don't enable that discovery process. And so we thought, well, in order for us to solve the discovery process, we probably need to work on some solutions that'll help the back end workflows, the quoting, the contracting, the inventory management, to help assist the data entry and also the data display.
In another world, what would be a comparison? I mean, I've used that this is like Salesforce for the rental and event industry.
Right, exactly. I mean, some of the largest examples that were pioneering this online marketplace concept and display and discovery was the airlines, right? But there was a period in time where you had to call a booking agent to understand what was available to you. And then when the tech revolution happened, they were then bringing that information online. So that is kind of like the elephant in the room as far as who ushered in this data access.
And then Salesforce did it for the sales business.
Right. A lot more process, right?
And created a process.
Yeah. So Salesforce is amazing and such a successful company and story about it, but they're helping integrate all the back office process solutions into a unified ecosystem.
But it also, when you say back office processes, it also helps the sales rep in selling. It helps the billing process.
Right.
It helps everything around that inventory. So when you say back end, it's really an ecosystem of a back end.
A platform, right?
It's a platform.
Everybody's talking from one organization to the other. For us, it's the accounting team knows what's going on with the sales team, which is feeding information to the owner, which is feeding information to the warehouse. And these are ecosystems that are traditionally reserved for the large behemoths in an industry, right? And then there's a point in time, a tipping point, that then makes that ecosystem and that those suite of tools available to the masses. And that's kind of what we're trying to usher in with Goodshuffle Pro.
Well, so what we're also, if you bring it down to a small company, if you're a third-party planner and you have inventory in your back room,
right,
and you want to organize it to maximize it, you can not only use this sort of software system or brain to know what you have, but also to present it to the customer so that he can use it more effectively.
Right. Yeah, we've spoken a lot about the back office components of this, but the great thing is you can then extend that information and that experience to your end client so that they can review quotes and proposals online. They can sign those documents. They can make payments, and it actually handles a lot of that paperwork. So you're exactly right. So once you start to solve some core business challenges, you get to extend that to end consumers, to the clients, and make the overall experience for each of these small or large companies a better brand experience for that end client.
So the beauty, one of the things I've noticed in the way you guys work, the way Salesforce works, the way the airlines are working now, is that the actual on-screen experience becomes much more delightful,
right?
As opposed to the clunky PC, click here and then do this, and like when you used to go to the ATM and it was like the worst experience. You wanted to kill yourself.
The green screens,
green screens,
and
So you're adding the ergonomics to that, and the user interface to that makes the experience good for not only the person on the floor who's doing the picking and the pulling, but the client at the back end that is being a creative force. To say, I want to use that clock that was made 45 years ago and they want to reuse it.
And giving them insights into the value of that clock has brought their bottom line over time. But you're exactly right. Allow them to extend that experience, not just at the end result of the event, this big, beautiful event that they're putting on, but throughout the whole process and connection internally for their team and externally with their clients.
And Karen, did you have some comments on that?
Well, I was just going to say, since Eric probably doesn't want to brag about himself, one of the reasons that we have that is because we have these co-founders who have these interesting technology backgrounds. And part of that is one of our co-founders has the background in the UI UX. And so that design element is really important to us because we're working with creatives who understand the importance of things looking and feeling a certain way. And we also talk to a lot of business owners who say, look, I'm not a tech person. I hear that all the time when I'm talking to people about the product. They say, look, I'm not a tech person. Also, I don't have time to sit and learn a complicated technology. And so as soon as they march into our product and they see how easy it is to use, it's this sigh of relief because truly this is a very complex, busy industry, as you're well aware. And so the last thing you have time to do is to learn some clunky software that takes a training program to learn.
So go into a little bit about the business model of why you've disintermediated the business model in terms of, let's say you're a small company, you're a small planner, and you want a couple people to use this. What is the barrier? How do you get into this? And then we can go into if you're MGM or if you are Blueprint Studios or if you are Court Furniture Rentals, and you can also use the same system based on the number of seats. But talk a little bit about what it looks like.
Yeah, for sure. So one of a smaller company that I had been talking to, they signed up for our free trial on Monday. And I got a call from her in the afternoon, and she said that she had a client that she had been calling back and forth, playing phone tag for literally months, trying to get her credit card information. Because with her old system, she had to manually enter this woman's credit card information. She signed on to our free trial, entered a couple of the inventory items that she needed, just the ones that she needed for this specific contract. She sent it out, and that client had approved, signed, and paid within minutes of her signing up for our free trial. She said, I've been trying to chase down this woman to book this event for months, and I was able to sign up for a free trial and already get booked, close business within a few minutes. So that's how easy the onboarding is for a small business like that. And she was just so delighted right out of the gate.
And what is first of all, you see, okay, big software system, expensive. What are the economics of something like this so that people can relate to it?
Yeah, so our software starts at $59 a month. And
what do you get for $59 a month? Okay, that's unheard of. What do you get for $59 a month?
I mean, you get truly everything from the initial quoting and sales process.
So go through the product lines so that you're the ones that are talking to customers. Like what are the things that they're getting for $59 a month when you think about it? Which is the cost of dinner for two in a nice restaurant in Washington, not even a top restaurant in Washington.
Yeah, I was going to say dinner for two. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, what's crazy is I've talked to some people who are using
lunch for two.
DocuSign or one of these online, document signers. That's like $40 a month right there. They're paying a monthly fee for their credit card processing. They're paying a monthly fee for a separate inventory program. They're paying a monthly fee for an invoicing system. And when you look at all of those monthly fees, they don't even realize because they say, well, this one's $10 $30, this one's $40, this one's that. Their 4 systems, 5 systems are not only complicated and they're wasting time copying and pasting from each, but they add up to well over what our system's going to be costing. It's a cost per user, so bigger companies are paying, accordingly, and they're getting everything from invoicing, online contract signatures, online payments. They're getting tracking down to every individual item in their inventory, including down to the dollies. We had one guy say that he used to lose $6,000 a year in just lost dollies that he's no longer losing.
So like Salesforce, it's also a sales tool, correct?
Correct. And if you are getting one additional person, like that small business I talked to on Monday, if you're getting one additional person who's signing who otherwise hadn't because it was too clunky of a sales process, you're paying for the software.
So you don't need a Salesforce if you have this, correct?
It depends. It depends. So, if you have a complex sales process and you're a huge company like an MGM,
right?
I can't sit here and say
reinvented
Salesforce.
A small company, like a company like a design company here in Washington that does a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Can you use it for your inventory and your marketing and things like that? Or?
Yeah, you're able to come in and have some of the built-in tools like notes about a client you've worked with before, a full history of every single event they've ever done with you, a full conversation history so you can actually see your email communications with that client. All the things you really need as a designer, a planner, a rental company to be able to come in and say, oh, right, we did such and such event with you last. I see photos here that we've tagged to you as a client. I see what your aesthetic is. Do you want to do something similar? Not only do you have photos on the contracts, but you're able to say, hey, let me pull up all of our history. Would you like to do something similar to the design you did for your corporate gala last year? I can just copy that project and not have to reinvent the wheel there. So we've really created the tool specifically for this industry.
So there is an AI component to this too. May not be officially AI, Eric.
I think we're getting there, right? It's a super unique approach to what we're doing. A lot of our job right now is just to cover the home bases, right? Like the steps 1, 2, and 3, and then we can start to use components, maybe more so like machine learning than AI specifically.
Okay, so explain to people what that is, because most people don't. I probably don't even know what the hell this means.
When my co-founder hears me give an explanation of machine learning,
well, he's a super brain.
Yeah,
this guy,
he is
Andrew,
the mega brain behind the things that I'm able to design. And we'll just, So machine learning helps you take all the data that's been entered into a system and distill some predictions out of that to say, well, now you can start to get like revenue forecasting, inventory forecasting, and what we call inventory pressure over a given period of time, looking forward, not just historically, but you can actually forecast some pretty key decisions or answers to questions business owners might be having about their operations. You compound that with intelligence that we gather from the marketplace, which is basically a top of funnel, seeing what demand.
Explain in English what that means.
Yeah, sorry. All right, so we have Goodshuffle Pro, right? That's helping these businesses run their day-to-day business and extend that experience to their clients. For a lot of the companies that are interested in augmenting their sales and marketing side, we can actually put their data onto a marketplace, much like Amazon.
What does that mean in terms of a data onto the marketplace?
Right. So,
what does that really look like on the screen?
So you got a beautiful pink tufted couch.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll use more descriptive language here. You got this beautiful couch sitting on your shelf, right? But it doesn't do you too much until you post on Instagram or somebody who went to a previous event saw it at that event, right? But after that, the legs of getting that exposure out to end users kind of stops with maybe you can post it on your website. What people are actually looking for, and we have the data behind us, is they're Google searching explicit items and pieces of inventory that they want in a given market. We are able to post that beautiful couch on a marketplace that is, SEO optimized and very keyword and search heavy, so that when an end customer is looking for that particular item.
Give me an example of what they're looking for, like the tufted couch. What would they put in?
So they would have, typically for items like couches like that, they have like a kind of a super swank name, like the Paris or the Charlotte, and pink tufted couch, right? And they've got beautiful imagery. That's one of the really cool things about a lot of these companies. They can add a description. They can tell the story about this particular item. They can show it not only on its own, but as as a component of maybe a 2 or 3 piece chair set with some accent furniture and a chandelier over top to really sell an experience. So you can draw those kind of relationships between a couch and a chair and a ends table.
You're seeing what people will use together.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving them a really crystal clear execution on what this looks like in the real world. And this industry, since you eat with your eyes in this industry, they are wanting to see what they're buying before they buy it, or even before they go out and do a site visit. And so with Goodshuffle Pro, we're able to help these organizations capture and organize all of that data, right? The photos, the descriptions, the tags, the keywords. And then it gets surfaced on our marketplace, which when an end user, when I say end user, I refer to like the planners, the DIY brides, et cetera, are looking for that pink tufted couch because maybe they saw it on an Instagram post or on Pinterest. They then have a place of discovery that leads them to connect with these businesses and say, I found your item. I'd love to have this for my upcoming, maybe it's a ceremony, maybe it's a wedding, maybe it's something more corporate, depends on what the item is.
But they also know what goes with it.
Yep, and they get to see and add and actually build out their event from a very photo and descriptive rich experience. So they can build these shopping carts effectively, these events. And then if you're a planner, you can actually even present that to your end client, the bride maybe, and you can say, hey, here's what I think would be really great. And now you're already getting on the demand availability and pricing to help inform whether or not this is actually going to be a reality.
So if I understand this properly, you're basically creating the Instagram photo before the event. And in many cases, you're creating the ability to say, I want the coolest damn stuff I can get.
Right.
So that when these people see it, it's going to make everybody become a bit of an event designer.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is a little scary.
Yeah, sure. But most of that originally is informed by these companies themselves, right? Because they are really the ones with the taste, with the creativity.
So they're going to
the
design
vision.
templates, basically.
Yeah.
So you're going to see, or do you see the trend as more template buying for these things, so that you don't have to be a Brian Raffanelli to make the buying decisions to have the greatest event in the world?
Right. Template buying, I would say it's more like an upsell.
An upsell,
right?
Okay.
So they're like, hey, I saw this. I went to this event the other day. I really liked that one thing, and I want to go find it for this gala I have coming up. And then you actually discover that, hey, there's actually there's a bigger opportunity here that I can bring in some other elements, really impress everybody at this event. And so the discovery and the upsell components are kind of built into that shopping experience. Just think about it like, you're adding these pins to a specific board because they think they all go together, and you're adding your kind of like wish list. And then you can kind of work back or forward from price and
But you're turning the wish list into a one-stop shop.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of what you're doing.
Exactly. So you're basically e-commerce enabling a Pinterest board that these companies might already be using, and saying, hey, guess what? When you're actually out at dinner or when you're off on another job, you can have actually clients pulling themselves through your sales funnel on their own when you're not sitting at your desk, or when you're not on the phone, or when you're not with them.
So it's a whole different discovery thing. And if you map that against the whole pop-up world, that things have to happen faster.
Right.
Then someone can create, when you design a home, you're doing it for years.
Right.
When you're designing a room for an event, you're doing it for a period of hours.
Yeah.
So you can't spend the time that you would do to design a home.
Sure. This has got to be quick.
Yeah.
And so that is very much where we see the future of that Goodshuffle Pro software, is to help make those quick and long-lasting decisions on the fly, on the demand. This industry, events have had so much cool innovation happening over it in the past few years. I'd say more than a few years, but more recently, for instance.
Well, 70%, I've had this statistic that the budgets for events have gone up 70% in the last 20 years. And that's a lot of that is because of social media, because people are spending a lot of money on the experience. So I guess now what you're doing is you're making the experience creation more efficient.
Right. Helping them execute those big visions.
Yeah.
I think Karen and I, we were at the NACE experience this past summer, was it right, in Palm Desert, and they were talking about this is specifically kind of working a little more towards the catering side of things, but like developing dishes and developing seated dinner experiences that were Instagrammable, right? Because that's how the innovation's kind of getting spread through the industry, and so we're helping the execution of that go a little faster.
Right. Karen has something to say. When she has something to say, we want to hear.
There's also that it's kind of that final sales moment. You're talking about the 70% increase in what people are spending. And I think probably any rental company or planner has had the experience where they sell someone on a vision, but then they send them an invoice that looks really bland. That's just a listing, and someone has sticker shock right away because it's an expensive industry. And so even little things like our final sales moment where you have interactive photo galleries on that quote. Even the ability to make sure that you're not selling them on a vision and then having to come back and say, oh, I just checked with my warehouse manager. We actually don't have that leather tufted, whatever. You're able to make sure that you're closing those moments, because not only is it fast, but it's expensive. And you want to make sure that you're showing the experience that's going to be Instagrammable, that's going to be, you need to, like Eric said, you need to have them eat with their eyes.
So you talk to a lot of these folks, what are the big pain points that you're seeing in the way things are done today that you're solving?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is there's a lot of room for human error because people are using 5 different tools, if they're using any. Some literally just a cork board on their wall. And in the interim of going from their sales tool to their inventory tool from the warehouse to the creative, there's all these gaps and there's just too much room for somebody to mess something up. And having it all streamlined and through one thing, one of the biggest things is you're just not leaving that room for error, which we all know, if you ruin someone's wedding, you ruin someone's big corporate fundraiser, there's just not room for error in this industry.
Well, exactly. What are the other pain points?
Yeah, frequent changes. So people are always changing things, and the ability to do that on the fly, on the go. I think some people are using really, older software tools that they have one computer that they can work off of. It's server based. They don't have the ability to make a fly change, on the fly change from an event, in real time. Another thing is I think
third one.
Yeah,
we're now coming to number 3.
Number 3, third pain point I would say is I just see a lot of people who are they're operating a business where everything lives in their head. And if every single thing that you're doing is living in your head, well, I know how many colors our chair covers come in. I know exactly what is the upsell. When I sell one thing, I always upsell them on another. Well, I used to work for a guy who said, well, what happens when that person goes off to tuba camp? Who else is going to be there? And I always talk about, the ability to grow your company. If you're the only person who has that knowledge and you're sick one day, if you're really looking at a vision of growing your event company, your goal should be able to pass off the baton and hire more people. And if you have, how many chair covers you have and what colors they come with them, and here's the things that should upsell. I mean, with our software, when you're putting in something for a quote, it's immediately saying, do you want to upsell them on this, this, and this? By the way, these are the colors you have. And that's giving you the ability to hire somebody else so that you can grow your business.
What's number 4?
Oh man, there are people, employees. That's another thing. There's a lack of accountability. And I talk to a lot of folks who are frustrated because they only have the ability to hire people in their busy season, for example. And so they're hiring college kids, part-time workers, things like that, who maybe aren't as invested in the brand. And so they're just not having a really clear way to A, teach them process, or B, hold them accountable. And by having a software program like Goodshuffle Pro, they are forcing them into saying, hey, here's the process. We do this. Here's where you log in. And it's very easy to use. And it's also keeping them accountable. We have a very unique digital pull sheet where they can actually say...
English.
Right. A digital checklist where they can say, okay, I can mark with my finger on my phone that this seat made it here at this time, that this was loaded on the truck. And you can go back and say, hey, Billy, it says here that you loaded this at this time. Did you do it? And that kind of accountability, usually they're just, maybe they're taking a checklist, they're just sort of initialing it. There's just not that level of, they can take a photo of the setup and they can upload it in real time. And you, the boss, can be sitting back, we always joke on the beach, but probably in the office frantically working still. And you can look at your phone and say, oh my gosh, Billy uploaded the photo of the event setup. He set up the temp properly and I can see he uploaded at 4:59. I asked him to do it by 5.
What's number 5?
Probably bad habits. I would say that there's a lot of bad habits of, well, we kind of promise this out and we figure it out later. And then we're driving to the event and we realize something.
Does that happen all the time?
Oh yeah, I talked to somebody she had all sorts of funny stories for a tenting company where they were just flying down the highway hoping they wouldn't get a speeding ticket to try and get things set up for the wedding in time. And by catching things earlier on in the process, we're really solving the pain point of what people think is just a given. Now, granted, there is a little bit of that in the industry of, there's always a little bit of a crazy thing happens at the last moment, but how great is it to solve so many of those much earlier in the process?
How about the psychological problems of all the people in the industry? I mean, I think you're gonna like lower the amount of Prozac and things that are being sold.
Yeah, I mean, that was truly, I had a background in events myself. And when I met Eric and Andrew and they talked about their vision for this company, I just had that emotional feel right away of the pull of that is something that people need. And how much are you going to be saving people from this incredible anxiety and stress and headaches? And, I don't want to say that we're solving all those problems, but certainly it's a nice thing when I talk to business owners and I can hear the relief of, oh my gosh, that's exactly, I can tell. Someone said it to me yesterday. She's been in the industry for 32 years and her husband has been in the industry for 40 years. And she said, I just cannot believe how much research you've clearly done because you are hitting every pain point we've been experiencing all these years.
Number 6, I'm not sure if you mentioned this already, but I'm sort of suggesting that is it optimization of the products? That the idea that this stuff gets dusty on the shelf.
Totally, especially some of the big, unique design firms who are doing something like a pop-up for an ice cream shop and they create an ice cream cone and then it gets pushed to the back of the warehouse and they forget about it. How great is it to then 2 years later have somebody come to you and say, I want to do a retro diner theme something and to type ice cream and to suddenly go, oh, we already have something made. We're not going to then spin our wheels and our man hours of, the inefficiencies there of having their crew go create a new thing when they go, wait, we have something that actually fits at that. And you can tag, diner, retro, ice cream, things like that in our software. And then you could just be searching it within your own program and go, oh my gosh, we already have this.
Can you think of number 7, Lucky 7?
Oh man.
Can I push that, Eric? Do you have Lucky 7? Have we missed?
Because
I think that what we're doing is we're creating a listicle on the fly.
Yeah.
A listicle article.
I think Karen did a really great job of establishing those core pain points on a daily basis. And then what Andrew and I and the rest of the Goodshuffle team have worked with a lot of our vendors on is understanding now that you're able to get your day and your week in order pretty substantially early on in the week, on maybe a Monday morning, what are your next questions about the business that you have? What does the next month look like? What's the next quarter? What's the next year look like? And where are you trying to take your business? And how is the data that we have captured in Goodshuffle Pro helping you inform those decisions? So the 7th pain point is a pain point that we're kind of creating in that we're helping you solve pain points 1 through 6, and now you're going to have this new one of what's next.
Yeah,
and that's what really literally keeps us up late nights, still developing and iterating on products and solutions. Because once you see those sparks go off and the questions you're going to help these people answer, it gets you motivated to really dig down and understand how what we've built can usher in the next phase of business operation and innovation for these companies.
And so what is your sort of super genius vision of the way this industry could be when you guys are sitting down thinking about what this could be, stuff that we haven't even imagined yet?
Oh yeah.
What do you think? What is give us a little bit of what you're in your brains.
We come at it from a tech perspective, right? From Andrew's speak, the zeros and ones doing, and from our speak, like what is the software doing specifically? The innovation within the industry is in good hands with the innovators of the industry. We're just trying to keep up and help them build software tools. But I think there are some unique kind of vertical and horizontal opportunities with these organizations.
Okay, in English. I got to get these brainiacs down, so that I can understand what they're saying.
Sub rentals, for instance, are a really big popular
What is a
item.
sub rental?
A sub rental is when let's say I have 100 Shivari chairs, but all of a sudden 10 of them need to be painted or repaired for some reason. So I'm going to be short for this wedding this upcoming weekend. I'm going to want to sub-rent it from a company nearby so that I can deliver on what I'm contracted for. And so that horizontal exchange of information between one organization and another can be very important and actually can help one company grow if they are able to structure their partnerships and relationships and say, I'd love to be able to offer linens. I don't currently do that because I don't have any inventory, but can I partner with you, company XYZ, and offer your products to my clients and we can work horizontally? That's a pretty cool innovation.
So you're creating a network effect.
Exactly. So that's the horizontal components. Right. Then you have the up upstream and downstream. All right.
Okay, what is that in English?
Yeah, right. So upstream. So what are, there's communication. It's all kind of stems from communication, right? So a lot of these companies are buying from suppliers and manufacturers, and or creating their own inventory, and how can the communications between those organizations be improved?
Oh, so the buying of the actual inventory is a future.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe we go there. We try to listen to our customers as much as possible to inform where we take the company, because it's their pain points.
So it's making the buying seamless on the other end.
Right. And then I think you did mention AI earlier. I'll abbreviate that with automation,
right?
From a sales process. Chatbots are probably a big topic of discussion for a lot of people these days, and like, what does that mean and what's going on there? Maybe we're not going to do chatbots so much, but allow for the sales communication to be a bit more automated, so that you don't have to be, beholden to your inbox to always, like, you can actually have a pre-programmed response saying, yes, I'd love to have that item. Awesome, cool, here's the quote. And the sales rep didn't actually have to do too much there. They just kind of established the pattern that they want to have of communication they want to have with their clients, and allow it to automate, so that, you find something that somebody, we have this internal calculation of, like, what is a true pain point? It's, on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful is it? And then what's the frequency on a hour, day, week, or month perspective? How often are you experiencing this pain point? And so, through a kind of a loose, assessment of those two variables, you can say, wow, you're actually doing that so often. And you also, it's like the hardest part of your day. How can we help you solve that component?
Why not make it easier? Why not make your day easier, make your life easier.
If we can get you a little bit longer lunch break or some peace of mind even. We talk about some very real and empathetic stories of people just, can I make my kids' soccer practice, right? Or can I actually take a break and put the phone down this weekend? Those are really meaningful, impactful components of a small business, medium business, large businesses, operational perspective. And so when you can win back a minute, an hour, a day, a week, you can really afford people to, as Karen was alluding to, grow and look towards the future of their company.
Great. Well, I think we're getting a good perspective on what this Goodshuffle Pro business is and how you're trying to disintermediate the industry. And so I think that if you have any final comments on what you think your vision is for the future in a very short
I think
15-second
I think we are happy to usher in and pay it and allow technology to pay attention to this industry in a way that it hasn't historically. I think that's where Andrew and I and Karen view the role of our company, is to bring and disseminate this tech innovation, this tech simplicity to the masses.
Simplicity is the total way.
You don't need to. We have stories of companies that we've been to and consulted with, where they're having 6-7 figure contracts from large scale organizations to develop a software suite that we are offering them for $59 entry level. Yeah. So we're trying to usher this and disseminate it to anybody and everybody in the industry, so that they can do what they do best.
And the beauty of our business is that it's a global business. That events travel the way music travels. Events are the music of the world in many cases. There are new town squares in the world. This business is only getting bigger, and I think that I think Tom Friedman talks about the biggest disease in the world is no longer heart disease and lung cancer, it's loneliness and isolation. And that what we're doing in our bigger picture of our industry is connecting people in ways that are humanistic.
Yeah. The bringing together for the people together for those experiences. I know Karen is big on where the experience economy is going. She talks about a lot.
Well, why don't we end on that? So Karen, let's end on your sense of your theory of the experience economy.
Just that I think that, everyone's well aware now that people, the younger generations are more into experiences.
Experiences are the new luxury.
Exactly. And so, we're starting on the ground level with the managing the chaos. We talk a lot about we manage the chaos. And then the next level of empowering the growth for these businesses. And then from there, it's endless opportunities to continue to expand on that.
I would suggest that event organizing in some form is the biggest small business in the world, because you cannot do this on a spreadsheet. Someone has to actually be there to do it, and someone actually has to orchestrate, because if someone doesn't show up, if the chairs don't show up, there's no place to sit.
Yeah, I mean, there's some industries where, technology is taking over. That's never going to be the case with the experiences. They are very much human driven.
Yeah.
We are in no way trying to, take away things. We're just trying to allow more time to have that human-to-human interaction, to have more time to do the sales, to do the customer service, to do the creative, and not deal with the paperwork and the chaos and the logistics. Like that's our vision, is just to allow more time for more of that human-to-human interaction and more experiences.
That's the perfect note to end on. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Player FM, Google Play, and Pocket Cast. Be sure to leave us a rating and review. It helps others discover the GatherGeeks podcast. We'd also love to hear from you. You can leave feedback on Twitter @GatherGeeks or leave us an email, gathergeeks@bizbash.com. We hope you'll join us again for the next episode of GatherGeeks. Until then, gather on.